What you gonna do, brother, when intelligent wrestling talk runs wild on you?
Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of Intelligent Wrestling Talk. I am Dan Janoff.
And I am Anthony Feliciano, a.k.a. Tony V of Pro Wrestling World, a.k.a. the one and only American Zeb V.
Alright, and we have some thinking to do this week. I don't know, Anthony, if you've seen the success of our first video, but
I did actually, and I'm actually a little bit flabbergasted. I really like the a lot of the fans are kind of kick-ass. Actually, we made some new ones that I thought, and not to mention, so people had a lot of nice things to say, which is awesome because these days a lot of people like to hate. But this is intelligent wrestling talk. We don't hate, we love, we intellectuate.
Is that actually a word?
No.
Alright, well, anyway, we have, as of right now, we have 11 subscribers, and our first video received 137 views so far, which is pretty crazy. I remember uploading this Saturday night, falling asleep. I was like, oh, it has 20 views. Oh, that's cool. And then of us has like 50, and then it just kind of went up throughout the week, which is awesome. Really thank you guys for watching, and thanks to all the people who contributed all their questions, all their comments. It's always fun to hear what other people have to say about different things.
And it made the show run a lot easier too, because you know when you like put in questions and stuff, it sort of gives us topics to discuss about. You know, we don't want to just give out dead airwave or anything like that. We actually want to hear the voices. We want to be the ears of the voice of the voiceless.
Exactly. And I also would like to thank a few people within our Facebook group who contribute a lot to our first video. I don't know if you remember, but there was a certain impression that was done at the beginning of our first video, and we haven't heard it yet because we haven't obviously haven't recorded this all the way through, but there's going to be another one at the beginning of this one, which I'm sure is going to be pretty awesome. And it was done by our very own Shaun Spex, who has his own channel, does a whole bunch of different gaming stuff, does a whole bunch of impressions. I'll throw his links and stuff in the description. And
he even has Dean Ambrose literally saying nope to love.
Yep. that was pretty amazing.
No, he sent the video to me this morning, and I was like, "Well, I'm at work, man. What is this?" He's like, "Just watch this," and I did, and it was pretty funny. I liked it. I mean, you know, you got the Lion King, and
you're still thinking about it, huh?
You know, I can't even explain it.
Yeah, and we have one more person to thank for the person who does all of our banners for Facebook and YouTube and such. That is Michelle Turner on our page, and she's one of our admins as along with Shaun Spex. And yeah, they really helped bring everything together, bring a lot of people in, and even you. I need to thank you because of you, we have 89 new users on our Facebook page now. We're up to 172 members. So I gotta give it up to you, man.
Well, good. I'm glad. In fact, I think I deserve that a little bit more too. But very well then. And Dan, I gotta thank you, and I'm gonna make you a protector of my money in the bank briefcase.
I'll do my best to keep my eye on that.
Yeah. All right.
Hopefully, I won't toss it in a certain place.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get into that. Anyway, enough with all the thinking and stuff. We still have a week of wrestling to get through. So let's start it off with Raw, and it started off with the contract signing for the WWE title.
Yep. Yeah, I thought this was pretty cool. And you know, it seemed like Cena got kind of booed actually when he came out, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a very pro Daniel Bryan crowd, very anti-Cena crowd.
Yeah, and I actually noticed, like, you know, even like, I mean, it seemed like Cena just like had that face, like that smirk and everything, like, all right, well, what now, and stuff like that. But what I really enjoyed out of that segment was Brad Maddox helping put Bryan even more over by saying, no,
yes!
no.
And that was pretty good. He was really playing to the crowd, really getting them involved with it. I always like to see, regardless of whether they're good or bad, I love to see them getting the crowd involved more.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was just I just give it up a lot more for Brad Maddox as well. But just seeing Bryan just get over, no matter where he goes, is just as impressive enough as it is.
Absolutely. I mean, it just seems like he's getting much more of a crowd following now with the push he's been on.
That's right. And
especially with this title shot. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of reception he gets. Cause I think SummerSlam is in Hollywood, if I'm not mistaken.
California?
I believe so.
Yeah. No, that's right. It is in California. And just so some people know, there is more than one Hollywood in certain areas.
Yeah, he's confused by the one that's actually located in South Florida.
That's right. Dolph Ziggler, where he's billed from. I think, and I think Big E as well. I'm not sure, but one of those two.
Oh, correction. I just looked it up. It's in L.A. at the Staples Center.
Ah, all right. Yep.
Just so we got that correct. So that's one less unintelligent thing we say.
Yeah.
All right. Well, after that, we had the Sheamus versus ADR match, and they really, really focused on Sheamus's gigantic bruise that he now has on his leg.
Yeah, didn't it look like a rotten piece of yogurt, like when you open it up, or like that one area in like a grape like flavored yogurt or something where it's all white, but then put your spoon in it, mix it up a little bit, and there's that purple thingy that shows up. And I'm eating up so much time with this comparison. So
well, it looked nasty. It was a little uncomfortable just because they kept on focusing in on it, like zooming in on his leg so much, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to look at this anymore.
It's like the movie Scarface when they did all those random close-ups.
Yeah, that is true.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually ADR got the pin on a little roll-up after Sheamus tried to put a move on him and ended up collapsing under his leg of that bruise.
Yep. And, you know what? We need Ricardo Rodriguez back. I know he's suspended and everything, but we need him back. I mean, Alberto, I think if Ricardo Rodriguez came back, right?
Yeah.
I think it would, what's that word I'm looking for? I guess, like, I know Del Rio's getting heated up as it is being a heel, but I feel like he's just being booed just for the sake of being booed because he doesn't even appeal one way or another. Mm-hmm. Whereas if Ricardo Rodriguez was there, he could do these heel gimmicks for Del Rio too. I mean, I know it doesn't make too much sense right now, but I hope you know where I'm going at with this.
Oh, dude, trust me, I'm right there with you because
all right, good.
We did talk about this last week to where it was a lot to do with Ricardo for the reason why he was getting cheered when he first turned into a face. Yep. And he also had a lot to do with how much heat he was getting for being a heel, with how often he would get involved in matches and all these other things. And he really helped a lot in both aspects.
Indeed. Yep.
All right, and then briefly we saw a little heat between Booker T and Teddy Long over what happened on SmackDown when Vicky was named new GM.
Yeah, we did, and I don't really know how I feel about that. I mean, where do these characters go now? What happens to them in the near future? What goes on in terms of are they? I mean, they were in SmackDown today, but I guess not Teddy Long. I'm sorry. Booker T was in SmackDown, a little cameo. So is that what they're going to do now? Give them cameo roles? I don't know.
I don't know, just because that was basically all they were doing. That's all Teddy was doing for the longest time, and
now hold on a minute, please.
He's making tag team match after tag team match, and when Undertaker was there, having everyone face him. But before that, I remember he was a manager, and I think they could possibly pair him up with somebody. I think that would be good.
Oh, man. Yeah, you're right. In fact, I would love to see the primetime players then get Teddy Long then. That would be kind of cool. Or maybe with Kofi Kingston, perhaps. I mean, give him a little bit of a push.
Yeah.
Good managers do help. I mean, if you're not that great on mic, you always got a manager with you.
Yeah, I mean, we see that every week with Zeb Coulter and how great he is for Swagger and Cesaro.
Yes. Yep, that's right. He carries them vocally. Although, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Cesaro obviously is really good on mic. I mean, even on side commentating, he's funny. In fact, a little funny story about Cesaro is that if you ever see him in like episodes where like he's sort of in the side being a co-commentator,
yeah,
you could see him try to put a straight face, but then you'll notice like he's trying not to laugh.
Yeah,
see his lips wiggle and stuff like that. It's pretty good.
Yeah, man. All right, and then we. I guess it wasn't really that much of an important match, but maybe we'll speak a little on Christian versus Titus O'Neil, and I just want to make the one point which I kind of thought was a little brilliant on their part was they had a Darren Young, obviously he was there, cheering him on or whatever, and he had a whistle, and I think Michael Cole says, "Hey, look, he's a whistleblower," and I laughed so hard when that. So like he just randomly threw that in there. It's like, oh, I love you so much right now.
Yeah, right. The top 10 redemptions of Michael Cole.
Yeah,
I like seeing Titus O'Neil in matches because we know he's a good it guy. He's got the good it factor thing about him.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is just one of those wrestlers where what are they going to do with him in the future? I want to see him get the belt. I mean, I know he's going to be really good with the championship belt. Yeah. I definitely think they should keep him heel.
Definitely.
Yeah, and he's, I don't know, my favorites obviously are where he goes, I can't help but do it in front of my TV as well. Something about that.
But that's always great.
They get mass hypnosis, man.
Yeah, but anyway, after that, we had a Mark Henry promo, where he basically did his full-on face turn by mentioning the crowd and mentioning where he was from and all that, and then he calls out the Shield. The Shield comes out, and the Usos come to the rescue.
Yeah, so, all right, so you got these three dudes come in with tactical armor, and then suddenly, these two guys come out from the back wearing bathing suits. And they also beat the shit out of the Shield too, and make them run. Beat up the Shield, and then the Shield runs away.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
Yep. I don't know how I feel about this, but what do you think?
I don't know. It's kind of weird because the Shield have these feuds with these group of wrestlers, and they won't win. Like with with Sheamus, Orton, and I can't remember who the third person who was teaming with them at the time.
Oh, well, yeah, it's Big Show.
And in Big Show, they tried that for a while, and they then pushed them aside. And then they had Team Hell No, and who was it? I think it was Kofi at the time because the whole U.S. title thing before Dean Ambrose got it.
Right. Yeah.
It's like they kind of keep on trying to, throw a whole trio of different guys at the Shield every time, and the Shield keeps knocking them down. And I don't know. I'm not sure where they're going to go with this one because I've always been huge supporters of the Usos. I always thought, they were the one tag team that I thought should have held the belt at some point.
Yeah.
But I mean, they so random with these trio teams. It's just ridiculous.
No, it's interesting you see that about the Usos carrying the belts because if you really think about it, they really are like the legit tag team. Mm-hmm. Because I think I mentioned it last week, but you have these different tag teams which are not even really like dudes that are actual tag teams like Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. You think they were really tag teams even way before this? I mean, at least with the Usos, these guys are like the Hardy Boys kind of, like this like setting, or the Dudley Boys, they were a natural tag team.
Yeah.
And I think if they did get the belts, I probably wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to see, considering how long they've been there, obviously the lineage with, them being the sons of Rikishi.
How many times they've jobbed.
Yeah, that too. I mean, they've definitely paid their dues. But anyway, the next segment to get into, we saw Daniel Bryan backstage with John Cena, and John Cena was basically there offering his help or whatever, and Bryan's like, no, dude, I can do this on my own. He doesn't want any help. And then we would eventually see later that obviously that wouldn't come to pass, but it's really them pushing Daniel Bryan in that thing where obviously he needs to prove himself and to where, I guess, make him a little more over with the fans, I guess is...
I guess so. And, it just pains me to see Cena there with his promos, though, because I feel like every time there's always that underdog, Cena has to be there to help him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just seems a little tiring. We've seen this process before, and it doesn't work out in the end because usually that wrestler gets the accidental burial. And I don't want to see that with Daniel Bryan. They cannot pair him up with Cena at all in any of these promos. And later on during the whole tables thing, you'll see why I had a bit of a problem with that too. Not just because of Cena himself, but just because the way Daniel Bryan just seems weak. They don't give him his own strength in terms of the build-up. And let's say if he doesn't get the belt, let's say if he gets cashed in, or if he wins the belt by Orton or something, and it's just going to look really bad, because then it's just going to make that build-up just look like it was all for nothing, because it doesn't make it look more memorable if Bryan did it solo, and yet to have him paired up with Cena in these promos.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point because, I mean, he can only... I guess that they're trying to maybe gain some more support from maybe the Cena fan base to where, like, oh, okay, he's in the segment with our guy, and, maybe we should like him too and cheer for more of him too. I don't know. I think he's all right with his fan base, and I totally agree that he needs to be, obviously on his own and away from him. And if there's any sort of interaction with them, it should be, them fighting each other.
Indeed. That's right. Even backstage.
Yeah,
but then one of them would have to turn heel, so...
Well, I mean... It has happened in the past where two faces have gone against each other and they both stayed that way. I mean, I know it's not as of recently to where, eventually somebody has to turn heel, but anyway, get into the next match. We had Darren Young versus Dolph Ziggler, and I gotta tell you, lately, watching Dolph early on in matches, just the way he rolls around, the way he plays the crowd, I like I said earlier, I love when the wrestlers and other guys do it. I don't know. I just get a huge kick out of it. What do you think?
Yeah, and I'm actually more impressed now with Ziggler fighting as a face. I mean, he actually seems like he's more legit now as a wrestler. Whereas even when he's a heel, he just seems all, he would need to cheat and everything. You wouldn't really see his abilities. And not to mention, as a heel, he gets beat up so many times because he's so damn good at selling. So now, as a face, you see him all slippery, sliding, he's getting very invasive. You see his speed, his ferocity, just as Alfred pointed out when Bane showed up at the Dark Knight Rises security camera footage at the Wall Street Bank. So, now with that said, this can really give Ziggler that oomph now. The only problem is that he's probably not getting his title shot at SummerSlam.
No, probably.
So, I mean, what then? I mean, yeah, he's got that storyline thing to fix, which is a good storyline, don't get me wrong. But what does it mean now for his belt,
Well, I think eventually he'll get it back. He'll get his title shot and get it back, but I think this current storyline with him and AJ and Big E, that kind of needs to play out. and finish, so he can actually move on to bigger and better things, such as the World Heavyweight title.
Yep. Or maybe even a WWE belt. I mean, could be time for that when that moment comes.
Yeah, crazier things have happened.
Yep,
and
that's true.
And like I said, with the whole Big E thing, he tried to get involved in this match and try to catch Dolph off guard. But as we've seen in recent weeks, Dolph, like you said, has been all slippery and all getting away from him, and it's just good stuff. I like this face Ziggler,
and he's wrestling clean too. That's the great thing about it,
Yeah, and I think the fact that he's also, since he is a face now, that I think it's okay now in the fans' eyes, because he was sort of doing this whole, obviously doing the whole showing off gimmick before he was a face, but it's now shows all the fans that it's okay to laugh along with him, it's okay to enjoy it with him, as opposed to before when everyone's like, oh no, we hate him, that whole thing. But of course, guys like us, loved it from the beginning. So
yeah.
All right, and we had the. I guess we have to mention this. I don't really know. The Miz's talk show talking with the cast of Total Divas.
No.
No, you don't want to talk about it?
We can talk about it. I'll let you go first, though.
I mean, I honestly didn't really care for it, and I didn't, really notice, the whole, black dot covered thing on the screen.
Well, we are gonna have to talk about how they all got booed and everything, or we're all gonna talk about their promo. I mean, what do we want to do? Do we want to talk about the Divas thing real quick? No. But Daniel Bryan, don't you want to talk about the nip slip?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yes.
He doesn't enjoy seeing that on live television.
Yes.
But they did blur that out, so no one saw it. But to be honest, I just wanted to say the only reason that I would even bother watching the show is to randomly catch a glimpse of guys like Daniel Bryan, maybe like even Tyson Kidd, because obviously him and Natalia are together.
And you know what? I thought I saw Fandango in one of the clips too. They were showing, not on Monday, but they showed another clip thingy, and I wonder if he's involved in that somehow also. Maybe not in terms of a big scale or anything like that, but I could have sworn I heard one of the divas say, "I think you need a manager or something, or pick me or whatever." So
that is entirely possible. I mean, I wouldn't think it's really that big a deal, because right now, as the divas go, I mean, WWE hasn't really given us too much to care about. But anyway, moving away from that segment, we had a little backstage segment after that with Brad Maddox and Triple H and eventually Stephanie. And what really, really surprised me, because Triple H gets a lot of flack for burying a lot of talent, like, over and over. Yeah. I was really surprised. He really put over Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's like I mean, well, I don't know if this is true or not, and this probably isn't, but I'm wondering if it's because if it has anything to do with his relationship with one of the Bella twins, to which the other Bella twin is also dating Cena, to which Cena may have been pulled backstage. But I don't know. I mean, but then again, aren't we all familiar already with how Triple H is very selective when he wants to push over someone? Like, if he believes that he put over, I mean, he put over the Shield. I mean, he was the one that got them in there. So
yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think it's very subjective to the burial, but I never get sick and tired of the memes. So
yeah, and he also put over Sheamus pretty big too, because I don't know if you remember, they were workout partners for a while, and he really wanted to get him in the spotlight, and obviously, as we saw last year, he wasn't the spotlight.
Well, yeah.
So,
and of course the push for Curtis Axel by being, all Yeah, he's all concussed out and everything. He's all, bewildered. And that match that he had with Axel, giving him...
Yeah, he looked a little drowsy, all
Yeah.
limping around, and obviously didn't look himself. All right, and we had a little bit of a look back at what the Wyatt family has done. And I think you actually got to see live in HD this time because you didn't see a main event last week.
Oh,
the
right.
Wyatt family. Yeah, that's like I said last week. That was pretty weird to see because I've never really seen a group of guys in wrestling, just stack bodies on top of each other. That's I'm trying to remember where I would link that to seeing that before outside of wrestling, but whatever.
Well, I think it was on the 8th episode of Hannibal. I think that they had a pile of bodies that were dead, and but of course this isn't the same thing. So
yeah. I
got up, Dan.
Anyway, moving on. The next match we had Fandango versus Cody Rhodes. And Damian Sandow was at ringside, and he attempted to interfere in the match, but Cody ended up winning anyway.
Yeah. Well, obviously, it just comes to show that this feud is really, really good, and I'm glad that they didn't cop out and sort of made Cody Rhodes and Sandow go their separate ways. In fact, this all goes back to Money in the Bank, to which I'm super happy that their breakup wasn't a mutual thing, and that it became a really good damn rivalry. In fact, this is probably the only feud that I'm interested in right now, currently in WWE. Which I think is probably the only major feud, I think. I mean, I can't think of any other feuds that are happening right now. So.
Well, actually, the very next segment I think you would be interested in was with CM Punk.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. There is that.
You can't, and he, and once again, CM Punk proves just how great he is on the mic, making you believe everything he says. And then Paul Heyman interrupting him, sounding just as good. I never get tired of them delivering a promo on each other. It's just great to watch.
No, and it's so fun. And I mean, Punk doesn't even have to wrestle. He could just talk, and that's totally fine with me. This could be like one of those, not an intermission, but this could be like that middle of wrestling thing. Punk's music kicks in, everyone's going crazy, and Punk starts talking, and I feel like that's where the action comes in for me sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely hear you.
This is how you build storylines. I mean, this is it right here. I mean, I think if in the future, if wrestling historians ever find archive tapes in terms of how to build storylines, they need to watch these segments.
Absolutely, because this is something that, because obviously, fighting each other every single week can only do so much, but when you have great talkers, just like these guys are, it really gets all of the fans emotionally invested in it, and ends up bringing in a lot more viewership to the pay-per-view because of it.
That's right. Yep.
So, moving on to the next match, we saw Rob Van Dam versus Wade Barrett, and I mentioned this to you while we were watching it, but when was the last time RVD's wrestling tights not look awesome?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think Ryback's a bit of a fan, and I'm a Ryback mark, so yeah, me.
Yeah.
No, it was a good match, and Wade Barrett was bleeding.
Yeah, I think he was bleeding from the nose or the mouth or something. I'm not quite sure how that happened.
That should have put him over right there. I mean, I thought that was pretty damn cool. You see, I like Wade Barrett, so, I mean, I didn't care who won or lost, but, I mean, I just, what was interesting is that we didn't even get to see Barrett's finisher in this one.
But we did see a frog splash from RVD, and no one does this better, to where he goes in the air and almost twists himself while he's in midair. to do his frog splash. It just looks beautiful.
I'm telling you, he's a Ninja Turtle in human form. He got that Hollow Watch from freaking X-Men Evolution, and that's why he's able to appear human.
You know, that would actually make a lot of sense. Oh, man. Anyway, the last three matches involved one wrestler in particular, and we got into it a little earlier with Daniel Bryan having to face not one, not two, but three different wrestlers.
Yeah, this was incredible. I mean, if this was any other wrestler, the audience would have been sick of it already. But this was Daniel Bryan, the most over wrestler currently in the WWE. So then you have him go up against Jack Swagger, Antonio Cesaro, which that match stole the night, and then against Ryback as well. And this was just, and the audience wasn't even bored. It's like they wanted more of it anyway, even after Ryback.
Well, that's what happens when you get a guy who is as good as a worker and as good as a performer as Daniel Bryan is. I think, what was the time that he was on TV? It was like 30-something minutes he was on TV, 40, something like that?
Yeah, he was out there for a long time. And this is where I want to get into the whole Antonio Cesaro match. Jesus Christ, this is probably the best. This is Ring of Honor style right here. This is what the people wanted to see. Young guys getting the actual main event squeeze. And I consider this whole segment to be main event, so if there's anyone who's technical about it, that was the match right there. Antonio Cesaro versus Daniel Bryan. And even though it looks like Cesaro got kind of knocked down to the whole mid-card status thing, no way. He still gets to show off his abilities. And especially with Daniel Bryan, where they can actually show off. That was awesome.
Absolutely, man, because this kind of brings them back to their Ring of Honor days when they used to wrestle each other there.
Yeah, and if you ever look at the older videos of these guys, I mean, they've done some insane stuff, and just the suplexes, the speed of which they've done it, too, was just incredible. And not to mention Daniel Bryan still backflipping off the corner of the rings. I would be so tired. Not that I could ever do this anyway.
Yeah, his stamina is pretty sick in the ring. I don't remember for sure. I'm sure I'm probably wrong with this, but I'm pretty sure he's had iron matches in the past, not associated with WWE, obviously, because he hasn't had it there. But I'm pretty sure he has had iron matches in the past.
No, that's true. And, you know, what about those 60-minute matches, too? I mean, that was on the CM Punk DVD, I think, and Samoa Joe was also done it, too. And it was just a great breaking segment. And I think that'll be one of Daniel Bryan's most probably unforgettable moments.
Yeah, and I gotta mention this before we move on. After his second match with Antonio Cesaro, we had a random sighting backstage with Brad Maddox. We saw something I haven't really seen on WWE television in a long time.
Mm-hmm. And refresh my memory. That was last Monday.
That would be former protege of The Miz, Alex Riley.
Right. Yeah.
you just randomly standing there backstage for no ill-considered reason. You know, he's just standing there with Brad Maddox. Like, hello, I'm Alex Riley. I'm randomly.
All right, I'm on TV now. It gives my cue.
I mean, did they just like look around backstage like, oh, we need someone to sit next to Brad? Okay, you stay next to Brad. Go.
Oh, it's kind of like around last year when you get to see Yoshitatsu sometimes.
Yeah, just randomly there for no particular reason whatsoever.
Or like, how about the week before that when with Zack Ryder, who's just out there with the crowd. I'm like, oh look, there's Zack Ryder.
And he's just randomly standing right there. We don't know why he's there though.
Is he going to be selected for the belt?
We don't know. We will only speculate. Let's go on the internet and talk about it.
Look, the dirt sheets. They say Zack Ryder's going to get chosen.
Oh, fuck those dirt sheets. Oh, I hate them so much.
Oh,
yeah.
So
anyway,
terrible.
we'll move in a little bit for main events.
Yeah.
It wasn't there wasn't as much happening last week, obviously, with the Wyatt family making an appearance. But we saw first off a match between Sheamus and Jack Swagger. I mean, I don't know if you saw this or not, but they once again they focused on Sheamus's leg, and it's almost like the bruise like started spreading even further down his leg. It made it more uncomfortable to look at.
He's infected. I want him in the Nemesis program.
Yeah, you know, I
bonus points to whoever got that movie, but I think it should be obvious.
Yeah, I think they're eventually going to have to amputate that leg before the disease spreads.
Oh, man.
And there were a few other matches. They were decent, not really too much to speak of. We had Sin Cara defeating Drew McIntyre. It was okay, nothing really special about it. And to end the show, we had Damian Sandow versus Justin Gabriel. And I don't know.
All right. How did that go? Because I'm always interested in what Justin Gabriel is up to.
It was decent, obviously.
That sounds like sarcasm, but no, I am actually a fan of Gabriel.
Well, trust me, I know that. I know most of the people watching this don't really know that, but I got you there. But it was more focused on Sandow. He did his usual promo before walking down the ring, and then they wrestled. It wasn't really that long of a match. It was decent. I wouldn't take a second look at it, but Damian Sandow did take the victory. So.
Oh, he did win?
Damian Sandow won.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Oh, looks like those jobbing days are over, huh?
Yeah. All right. Before we get into some TNA, there was a bit of news this week with the WWE as far as NXT goes that made me have to go back and watch it because I don't get NXT where I am, so I have to look at other means of watching it.
Yeah.
And we saw the first ever crowning of our NXT women's champion, and that being Paige.
Yeah. I mean, I personally don't follow NXT as closely as I should, but I've obviously watched the matches. And I think someone asked a question about Paige 2 for later, but maybe I'll say some of it now. I think she's definitely the it factor for the divas. I mean, she's the anti-diva. That's what she's being sort of marketed as. And if she can be like the hotter China, I mean, I would say go for it. I hope we get to see her debut. But you know what? If she's also giving NXT the big following, maybe leave her in NXT for a while just before she debuts. So this way she can just sort of get a little more wrestling experience out of that before she goes into the main TV stage. I mean, if she's going to be as good as everyone says she is, then, why not just build her up not too fast, but not too slow either.
Yeah, I'm 100% behind that. I mean, even after the match, though, obviously earlier, we spoke about, Triple H's bearing abilities, but he actually came out after the match was over and came into the ring with her and raised her arm.
Oh, that Triple H?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was there.
Oh, and did he have a shovel with him?
He did not have his shovel.
He must have left it at home, but all right. No, I'm kidding. So yeah,
he left it backstage with his sledgehammer.
Yeah, right to his office. No, but all right, but you know what? I mean, just to add a little more. I mean, Paige, she sells the moves. I mean, in the matches that I've at least seen or kind of YouTube, I mean, it's like she gets her ass kicked pretty good, so she can take the hits. Mm-hmm. She could sell. Not to mention, she actually seems like an actual nice person because if you YouTube Paige interview or whatever, there's like some random interview at the Fan Access and WrestleMania. And in the beginning, it was actually Paige asking the interviewer how he was doing and if he's finding the Fan Access stuff kind of fun. And then, of course, and then in my head, I'm like, wait a second. You mean she's actually kind of cool and stuff? She's not being shown as being all ditzy or anything like that, so I thought that was pretty impressive. But you know what? I also want to talk about the NXT divas then also. I mean, you have Tamina Snuka, Never say that name right. Anyway, you got Tamina, who seems like a great female powerhouse as well because she's a little more built up too. And if it seems like where I think it's gonna go, it seems like Triple H will probably just phase in the NXT people. Even Summer Rae is actually not a bad wrestler either. So, with that said, if he can get all these NXT people in, phase out the regular divas in terms of maybe being actual more wrestlers, I think they can have something here.
Yeah, and and even with the person that she wrestled, I don't think it's on YouTube just yet. But once it is on YouTube, I highly suggest watching this match because it ended up getting to the point where the crowd was chanting, "This is awesome" over and over.
That's awesome. And I've seen the NXT crowd. It's not even that big, and for you to say that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, man, and this is probably. Well, it's like you said, that they need to bring these girls up because they had such a great match. It's probably the best, I guess you could say, Divas match as far as all the WWE is concerned in quite some time, and that's even given the matches that AJ has been having, much better than those.
So are you saying that if these girls get in, there will be no more bathroom breaks?
We can hope. I mean, if we could put these girls actually against each other, not really against some of the current divas. Just have this match on WWE television. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yep.
And not really much else happened. I could talk to you more about it, but I don't. You didn't see it, did you?
No, not really. Sorry.
It's all good. I mean, I could go into more, but I don't know.
Oh, go ahead. I mean, well, anything cool happen or?
There was a debut of a new wrestler in NXT.
A diva or just a regular male wrestler?
Just a regular male wrestler, and yeah. I do emphasize male because his gimmick is he comes down to the ring. His gimmick is a male model. All right, and
what's his name? Do you know his name?
Tyler Breeze.
Tyler Breeze.
And it was hilarious what he did when he walked down to the ring. He had his iPhone and was taking self-pictures on the way to the ring during the match and after the match.
That's pretty good.
It was hilarious. That's this whole episode. I think is one I think you should go back and watch.
All right, yeah, no, it definitely sounds like an important one, and I think I should watch it definitely.
Yeah, and a few other things happened. There's been some mention in the group about this tag team called the Ascension. I don't know if you've seen it anywhere.
I've seen people mention them, but I honestly haven't really seen it.
It originally just contained Connor O'Brien. I don't know if you remember him. I think he was season 2 of NXT. He kind of had the rat gimmick or whatever. I don't know if you remember that. But anyway, it's him and this guy Rick Victor, who they're really really dark, and the music is dark but like epic sounding.
Yes.
Almost like for those who are familiar with the power metal music genre, it's kind of like that.
All right.
And the promo, like everything about them seems really really dark, and even I think if I saw correctly, I think Rick had like these contacts that made his eyes look all black, which looked kind of creepy.
All right, yeah, definitely. And this is on what's this on last Wednesday? The last NXT or?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah,
sounds like NXT is the show to watch. I mean, I kind of feel like watching that sometimes instead of SmackDown. But then again, all the WWE shows seem like they're actually getting better.
Yeah, I mean they really are, and as I mentioned, with all this new talent coming up and all the success they're having, if they go where I think they should go with them, I think WWE has a bright future ahead of them.
So even like now, like all the people who can say like, oh, WWE doesn't push enough younger guys. Well, I think now there's a chance. Just go watch NXT.
Yeah, pretty much. But unfortunately, they're not televised everywhere. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. What did you mean by that you can't get it?
Like, I haven't seen it on actual TV. I think it's, I think it's on their website, maybe. I don't really know for sure.
Right.
But I think this is something that they should put on regular TV on, make it something like how they had NXT before, because now they have more of something to sell, as before they just had this competition that was a little unbearable to watch.
Yeah. Well, I would just put it on a Saturday. I mean,
well, yeah, put it on to some random day on the week where there isn't any wrestling, and just let them watch. I
mean, because I'll tell you though. I mean, sometimes it's just so hard. I mean, I want to watch a lot of the other stuff, but you know what? I'm working and stuff like that. I mean, I really only follow Raw and TNA and occasionally Smackdown when I can.
Yeah, I mean, and that's also partially why I don't watch as much ROH as I should, because they used to be on DirecTV way back when HDNet was still around and they were on there. Because I'm just so dependent on everything that's on my DVR, and if it's not on and I don't see it, then chances are I'm not going to watch it online, unless something really big happens to where I have to go out and see it. But obviously now with the show, I obviously need to start doing that. So
yeah.
Anyway, there was one other match. Not really anything new. They had Luke Harper of the Wyatt family going up against Sheamus.
Really?
And, yeah. I didn't really know too much of the story because it's been a while since I've tuned into NXT. But apparently something happened in the previous week where Sheamus got involved with something. Sheamus ended up getting the victory. There was no interference from the Wyatt family. They just sort of walked away, and that's kind of how NXT ended.
Huh.
So, anyway, all right, moving on to TNA.
Yeah.
We had the very beginning of the show. We had the main event Mafia in the ring with Chris Sabin celebrating his title win over Bully Ray. But who do we see walking down the ring? Bully Ray and somebody we didn't recognize who was his attorney, who said he's going to sue if he didn't get his title back by the end of the night.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't know. At first I wasn't really open to this segment, but then I don't know. I kind of like it. I mean, you never know where it's going to go. I mean, at least here's the thing about TNA. If they want a really good plot twist, they can do it. It's just the same thing like Austin Aries as being suicide and stuff like that. But anyway, just in case nobody knows who the lawyer was, OVW announcer, actually, Dean Hill, played Bully Ray's lawyer. OVW, of course, is the wrestling school, sort of. Not really, but Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Okay.
Dean, the announcer, and he played the lawyer. A lot of people thought it was Kevin Nash's twin brother. Safely, we could say that is not it, although I wouldn't blame you if you thought that.
Yeah. There was definitely a strong resemblance.
Yep. But who knows? We'll see where it goes. I mean,
Yeah, and next we had, I think what was probably the match of the night, was Ultimate X for the X Division title. We had Sanjay Dutt, Manic, and Greg. I can't pronounce that last name.
Tremperetta.
Yeah. Well, sure, we'll go with that.
Greg. I can't even spell his name either. Every time I try to upload the thing on friggin' Pete, I was like, Greg, whatever. It's Tremperetta.
I think it's Greg Marshulo, I think.
It's Marchulo, but the spelling, though, just seemed a little complicated. And believe me, I have I don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, with this match, like I said, probably match of the night for me. we saw Manic stand out earlier with a lot of the moves that he was pulling off.
Yep, that's true. And how about when Trent or Greg and Sanjay were up on top of like that thing, and it was just so high up. It was just really good. And then just to see how they're about to do the suplex, but you knew they really weren't. It just looked really freaking like crazy. Like, man, to be high up like that. Of course, we know what happens. Manic got the win, and I'm all game. I mean, I personally, what's so great about this is that I actually liked all of them, so I didn't care who won or who lost. But I'm happy to see either of them get it. And keep in mind, this isn't like the same Suicide from before, where it was played by, like Christopher Daniels or Kazarian. This one is actually T.J. Perkins. So if he's gonna be taking the helm as Manic, then I say go for it. He's not bad, so whatever.
Yeah, he definitely looked great in the ring, and just the way he climbed back into the match after like laying there on the what was it?
The freaking walkway, right?
Yeah, that.
The runway model.
That for a moment. But he was just randomly laying there, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he climbs up, grabs the title. Greg takes a nasty fall.
Yeah.
That didn't look good for me. That's one thing I always kind of cringe at when I see these kinds of matches, because I'm always afraid like someone's going to take like a misstep and fall, and there's just so much that can go wrong in a match like that.
Indeed.
Yeah, but anyway, we then saw a backstage segment with Mr. Anderson and Bully Ray, and of course, they make zero mention whatsoever to Doc. Obviously, since he's been released from his contract.
I do not know Doc.
Who is this Doc that I speak of? You don't know who this person is.
From now on, between the hours of midnight to midnight, no one will hear of Doc. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was just one of those little basis segments. I personally, I just kind of tuned out at that area because I figured it was just a regular Bully Ray promo talk thing. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it was really just him just emphasizing the fact that Mr. Anderson needs to win the Bound for Glory series.
Yeah.
Which obviously we saw in the next match with Hernandez versus Mr. Anderson. We saw Mr. Anderson take advantage of Hernandez's mistake when he did that running thing towards the ring, and then Mike checks him, takes 7 points, and giving him now a combined total of 14.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the match wasn't as dirty as I predicted. Like like they made Mr. Kennedy look pretty good out there, huh?
Yeah, he did.
Yep. And obviously Hernandez is. I would to think that he'd be belt material too. So I wonder when he's going to get his push. But I mean, but then again, it's usually all about fan favorites too. So we'll see eventually what happens, because I think I really like Hernandez. I feel like he's the sort of like the Titus O'Neil of TNA currently.
Yeah.
Sort of a little underrated, not used as often as he should be, but we'll see where he goes.
And next we saw I don't know how much really had to mention into this, but we randomly saw Eric Young backstage with Joseph Park.
That was good to see. And did you notice in the beginning when Joseph Park mentioned these contracts? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
So I wonder what that was alluding to.
Yeah, And he was showing him what happens to him when he bleeds, and claims he has no idea what happens or whatever. Yeah. I'm guessing this is something they'll show more of in the future.
Yeah.
I guess more of his matches in the Bound for Glory series.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. I still want to see some more Abyss, but Joseph Parks is fine. But I wonder if I don't think we're going to see a fine-tune of all this. I want to see more Abyss.
Yeah, I kind of do too, considering, he has a belt.
Yeah.
and a fairly important one, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure it's one that needs a name change, considering, it's the television title. It's supposed to be, originally back in the day, it was defended on
television. He doesn't have TV. Storyline wise, he forgot to pay his bill. He doesn't remember what day it is also,
I guess that could be a reason why. All right, but next we got into our knockout title match between Gail Kim and Mickie James.
Yeah, this one was actually a pretty good match. I thought, the hottest moment was when they kind of climb onto each other outside the ring. I thought that was pretty cool. But this is Intelligent Wrestling Talk, so I will talk intelligently.
Yes, you will.
Yeah. As always, this was a good. Gail Kim is a good wrestler. I love
Absolutely.
her, and I love any feud that she's been in. In fact, I like that this was a feud too. This was just one of those matches where you couldn't take a bathroom break on.
No, and in most of their matches lately, with the knockout matches, obviously all of them involving Gail Kim, and she delivers every single time.
Yep. I wouldn't want to get in an argument with that lady.
Certainly not. I'm pretty sure she could take just about any guy down. But they sort of alluded to, because they had a Madison Rayne at ringside, they sort of alluded to maybe a Mickie James, Madison Rayne angle afterwards.
Yeah, well, I really want to see the ODB feud with Gail Kim now, especially at the end, the way it ended. Because I love ODB. I couldn't wait for her to go back and wrestle again, because I don't know. I guess they needed a female referee, and maybe ODB is probably the best one for it, considering, if she were to fight, who would she fight? They need to build some room for Gail Kim. So, I hope we get to see some ODB action then.
Absolutely, just because she just brings so much energy, and she really gets the crowd into it.
Freaking ferocious too.
Yeah, man, she's fucking dominant as hell.
Yeah.
All right, and after that we had a backstage segment with Dixie Carter and Hulk Hogan, almost kind of alluding to the fact that they might just end up stripping the title away from Sabin.
Yeah, I thought it would have been effed up if they kind of, did that at the end, stripped the title out, then rematch, and Bully Ray would win. But, I don't know. This was, I guess they were trying to build that suspense. I don't know if they were playing with the crowd, playing with the rumors, because I feel like TNA, right, I have to give it up to them. I feel like they sort of break the fourth wall a little bit, because I feel like they read these articles that get posted online, and they're like, we should play around with that.
So yeah, we should do that. We should mess with their heads a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. The next match we saw Christopher Daniels face off against Samoa Joe, and we saw Christopher Daniels win it, but not by his own hand. He had a little help in that. Yeah,
I don't know. Obviously, he's a heel, and he's a pretty damn good one, too, at that. But yeah, it was strange to see the Aces guy come out and sort of do that, considering, don't get me wrong, I don't like when they sort of intermix the different heel people. So, but who knows? Maybe this is a good thing or maybe it's a bad thing, but I'd still like to see Samoa Joe come out on top, but I also like Christopher Daniels a lot. I think he's done a lot for TNA, which I feel like may go forgotten one day, and I hope not, because he plays up his heel persona so well. Like, it would be so hard to imagine him as anything else. Not to mention what he does for a lot of his matches. Even all that athleticism. Even when people bash Sin Cara for bashing, I think he's also a perfect athlete too. And I want to give tribute to the athletes right now.
Yeah, man. And when in this match, it was definitely really solid, because this obviously isn't the first time Christopher Daniels has wrestled Samoa Joe. They've also obviously wrestled each other for years. It really showed throughout the match. They had a lot of chemistry. They really flowed well together. And, I never really, like to see interference, but, I get it. I get why they do it. I get why they had Mr. Anderson come down and distract him so Samoa Joe doesn't get any points. And funny enough, that actually gave Christopher Daniels 7 points, bringing him to 21. And at that point, that would put him in third place.
Yeah. Well, see how it all plays out.
Yeah. And next after that, we had more backstage stuff with Sting and Kurt Angle. And it seemed like Kurt Angle was getting a lot of doubts about, what they're doing with their mission and all that. And Sting really had to reinforce, look, we're on the right path. We're doing this right. But I don't know. I think maybe this is something that could be carried into the next couple of weeks.
Hopefully so. I mean, is it me or is Kurt Angle looking more and more like Agent 47 as the weeks go by?
Yeah, I'm almost waiting to see that barcode on the back of his head.
No.
I mean, it kind of sets it off with he has the American flag on his glasses, or sunglasses, or whatever that is.
I didn't even notice that until someone mentioned it to me the other day. He's like, hey, did you ever notice that? I was like, really? I kind of want to get those shades, actually. They look kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think this is something, like I said, something that could continue. Maybe some inner turmoil in Main Event Mafia, who knows?
Yeah.
But the next and then the final match of the night, another just solid match throughout, was with AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy. And I was a little surprised because I sort of pictured in my head Jeff Hardy taking this one because he usually takes these kinds of matches, but AJ ended up getting 10 points by submission, getting 22, now putting him in the third place over Christopher Daniels.
Yeah, this was a phenomenal match. I think this was the match that stole the show after the X Division match. I mean, what we saw here were two athletic guys going at each other. Not to mention, these guys love their job. AJ Styles has been there for a long time. I was glad to see him get the victory, considering, the whole new gimmick change, blah, 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 the whole... And then you got Jeff Hardy, who's already been champion, and he's done so much already. But it's still great to see him still dedicate himself to this match. And, I got to give it to Jeff Hardy, a class act, because when he came out, giving everyone the fives and handshakes, and then he gave that little kid that was back behind the crowd the high five, too. That right there was just freaking awesome. And, it just shows what a class act Jeff Hardy is, especially good to kids. I met him when I was younger because I had the autograph signings by him or whatever, and he answered all my questions, actually. I was like, how are you?
It's like, oh my god, I'm meeting Jeff Hardy, oh my
god. Yeah. Hey man, how are you? Just really, really good. And in fact, I'm actually going to debunk a lot of the rumors later about Jeff Hardy charging for autographs directly or refusing autographs, charging photos, and we're going to get to that later when we hit the news. But yeah, it was just a really good match, and AJ Styles' finishing move also. Just before the whole submission stuff, that flip kick thing, I forgot the name of it. Really good.
I think that's the
and he's so huge too. He's like Jack Swagger size almost on TV, and it's like he's pulling off all these athletic moves.
Yeah, man. That's one reason why TNA's really kept him around, because he's always had that look and he's always had that athletic ability.
Yeah, and it seems like with the jeans and the jacket, I would think it kind of restricts him, but
Yeah, I guess he's just so athletic that he can pull it off by doing that.
Yeah.
All right, and we had our final segment of the night, the segment that they were building all show to. Bully came out, said he faced a major injustice. Sabin calls him a crybaby. And then we saw Hulk Hogan come out, and he says Chris Sabin's going to remain champion and will face Bully at Hardcore Justice inside of a steel cage.
Yeah, that's going to be really freaking cool. And what is that? That's 3 weeks from now, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. And I definitely can't wait for that match. It sounds like it's going to be a good one. Hopefully it's not another cop-out thing, kind of like what they did with, oh, God, what was I talking about? Bully Ray versus Jeff Hardy, where, Bully's Ace's team kind of went in one by one because, I mean, I liked how Hogan was like, you're going to be locked in a cage, brother. No one's going to get in or out, brother. And, so depending on how this cage is going to be, hopefully no one interferes.
Well, that's pretty much what he alluded to, that no one was going to get involved. But, I mean, you have to think that, because Hogan obviously mentioned that they were banned from ringside. Unless someone says they're banned from ringside, you have to believe that somehow that somebody's going to get involved. Maybe Aces and Eights, or somebody's going to throw in that same hammer, and that's going to get used.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, maybe the TNA security can do something about that, or the police. I mean, why doesn't Hogan phone anybody? God.
I mean, you would think by now with how often Aces and Eights.
I know. You know what they ought to do? They ought to follow from us, intelligent wrestling fans.
Yeah, man.
You and me, or even the audience.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Now we're going to move on to some WWE Smackdown. It opened up with Randy Orton against Damian Sandow, and the match was decent, and I guess the result didn't really matter so much, just as the fact this is something we were going to see throughout the night. But we saw Cody Rhodes come down and steal Damian's briefcase.
That's right. In fact, Cody Rhodes wasn't doing his job. Apparently, instead of being the protector of the briefcase that was rightfully brought by Sandow, he takes the briefcase and he walks away with it.
Yeah, and like I said, we would see him, try to get it back, but we'll get into that in a bit. After that, we saw another very, very strong promo from CM Punk. Pretty much building up more and more for SummerSlam and getting more and more fans into it.
Yeah.
And then we randomly saw Fandango come out, dancing down the ring.
It was random as hell.
Yeah, and you could tell it was funny because as soon as his music hit, you could just kind of see CM Punk. He's like, "What the hell is this?"
That's perfect.
And then he comes down the ring. Obviously, he beats him up, gives him a GTS, and just walks away.
Yeah. No, this was I mean, don't know where to begin. It's the strong CM Punk promo.
Really hard to do so.
I don't know. Let's move on.
All right. Next, we saw because earlier in the week, obviously on Raw, we saw the Usos come to the aid of Mark Henry, and this was the first teaming up of this trio, which is what I'm guessing is they're going to be building up for a match at SummerSlam against the Shield, as we saw them defeat not only Wade Barrett, but also the Primetime Players.
Wow, you know what? This is how bad my memory is today. Not even bad, but just how I totally forgot about that match.
Well, the match was pretty decent. The Usos, I can never remember which one's which, but the one who has his super kick.
Yeah.
That's always fun to watch that, and Mark Henry ended up finishing him off with the World's Strongest Slam.
Yeah. I don't know. I think with this whole, I think they just need that match already, and I don't think I can wait till the pay-per-view. It kind of needs to happen to me right now, but whatever, it's fair game, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And we saw something very interesting next when we saw ADR backstage with Vicky Guerrero, and I don't know, or we saw RVD, and RVD somehow, and he suddenly mentions hey, I can get a title shot too.
Hey dude, I can get my title shot too.
It's dude, I want my title shot, man.
Oh,
totally
man.
lose anything.
Well,
anyway,
the match was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I mean, I it wasn't really that good, but it was just basically a scripted loss. Then, I mean,
it was a little short.
yeah, I mean, until RVD started kicking and started hitting him, that's when it was good. But all right, look, Rob Van Dam actually lost today. I couldn't believe it because considering he's been on this winning streak. Del Rio was out of the ring most of the time. Sorry, trying to get this RVD music up. Alright, so Del Rio was out of the ring, holding up time, staying at the corner, waiting on time. Then, of course, as RVD was backing up, referee, with the whatever, back up, boom! Del Rio gets him with a kick and pins him. And I kind of was very surprised at that ending, considering I thought Del Rio was going to get the loss. But then again, he couldn't take the loss because he's currently the heavyweight champion, and I think they're going to not make it look like as if champions can lose, because we see that for a while with Big Barrett. Even when he got the belt, even when Cesaro had his American title belt, he was losing.
Yeah, maybe, I think we mentioned this a little bit last week with Del Rio losing a lot even with the title. I think somebody may have been listening to this show, maybe. I don't know, maybe they somehow randomly got to it. It's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't bury him so much even though he has the title.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that happened, and after that we saw few more times during the night where Sandow trying to track down Cody, trying to get his briefcase back. We saw him one moment with the random Sin Cara appearance.
It's Sin Cara. I guess he screwed up his mail order, so he's currently helping with the packages.
Mm-hmm.
He thought he was shipping it to Mexico with the international stamps, but he accidentally put in regular stamps.
Yeah.
So he's got to look through to find the package.
Yeah, and when we also saw a real random interaction with Booker T and Mark Henry, and that almost escalated quickly.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. They, in a way, they kind of helped put Sandow over a little bit. Tell me you did not just say that.
Oh, man.
Pretty good.
All right. Next, probably one of the more memorable moments of the night, we saw AJ Lee in the ring with Big E.
No, we saw AJ Lee in the ring with a Harley Quinn outfit. That's what we saw.
Yeah. She was going a little bit crazy.
Especially when she said, "Aw, puddin'."
Yeah, that was... I didn't know how to react to that, to be honest.
I loved it. I mean, she was Harley Quinn that night. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's sort of perfect. That's where.
How about when she took that his license out? Right? Didn't it look just like the Florida license?
Yeah, it kind of did.
Like Broward County.
Yeah, that made me pull out my license. Like, oh wait, no, I can see.
They got the same thing.
Yeah. But the segment was absolutely entertaining. Them going back and forth was hilarious. Dolph, it was funny as hell, making these random comments towards her.
Oh, but my favorite line was, "I have cash in my pockets right now, but I don't even have pockets."
It was funny too because then you I think it was Michael Cole and then where he said, But where does he have it then? Well, like he just randomly popped in there. It was just like, okay. It's like, I'm really curious where he keeps his money.
No, but this segment had me laughing too. It was a great skit, and it was actually very rare for a while too for WWE to. I mean, they would always have these like the stupid brogue, like 1-800 brogue or whatever the hell Sheamus' promos are. And this is what was funny, and it was great, and it was a little not PG too, as Ziggler even said it too, with all the sexual innuendo jokes and all that.
Yeah, and just how the crowd reacted to that was great.
Or You Are Psycho and AJ Lee played. They totally played with the crowd, and that was great to see.
And once again, we mentioned them playing to the crowd. It's
Yep.
It's because the wrestlers can only do so much in the ring, but it's really the wrestling fans like you and me to where they can really make or break any show.
Oh, Dan, not just you and me and the audience.
Yeah, and the audience, those of you watching.
All right, good. I'm just looking out for the fans here.
Yeah.
I know it's all about you, but listen, Dan, I've been on TV.
You big TV star, you big super celebrity.
I'll tell my grandkids about this one day.
So remember, when I was younger, I was see, there I am right there holding up that briefcase.
You can only see me for 10 seconds, but...
Oh, man. Anyway, we had the last match to end the show. Even though I just watch it for whatever reason, it eludes me. Christian had a match. I'm trying to remember. Help me out here. Who? You remember who he wrestled?
Yeah, Jack Swagger.
Yeah, he ended up wrestling Jack Swagger and he got the kill switch, and that really wasn't so much important as Damien Sandow randomly running out, saying, he's going to come after Cody, he's going to press all these charges or whatever as soon as they get here. And then we see Cody on the screen. And it's like, oh, no, he's by water. Where have we seen this before? And then, of course, Damien runs out. Damien meets up with him, starts kissing his ass and all this other stuff. And eventually...
That was my favorite part.
It's like, oh, you're so much smarter than me.
Your facial hair is better than mine.
And eventually, like we've seen before, we saw the briefcase go into the river and sink into the river.
Yep.
And for now, no more briefcase for Sandow.
No. And you know what? After this ending, I'm going to have to call it that this was a 5 out of 5 SmackDown. It was centered around Sandow, rightfully so, and his promos and sequences were just perfect. They started off strongly with Orton and Sandow, even Fandango interrupting CM Punk, only to get his ass kicked. Plus, we got to see the Wyatts debut in the ring. And when I mean the Wyatts, I mean Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. Now, this is how you debut the new guys. You make them kick ass, the new big guys.
Absolutely.
So it was also a complete squash match to the Funkasauruses, or Funkasaurs, pick your poison grammar Nazis.
Tons of funk.
Oh, yeah, whatever. So, but yeah, the last 10 minutes purely dedicated to Sandow and Rhodes feud. I mean, eventually, you see Rhodes throw into the slimy water, the Gulf of Mexico, and Sandow screams and asks for help. I even felt sorry for him. He was so good in this role. He even jumped in the water, saying he can't swim, but he gets out in time, spitting out all that water. Yeah. And then, but actually, a little trivia now. I've been hearing some after this match. I looked it up a little bit. What was going on while that video was playing for them? Fandango and CM Punk were actually having their one-on-one dark match while the video was playing.
Oh, so that's why we didn't really hear them at all during that.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is probably due to keeping people in their seats, maybe, instead of rushing out to go find these guys, assuming this is live or not. But I'm going to play you a little something, Dan, and you, the audience member. I'm going to play you something which some people have commented what this really reminded them of, and I'm going to play it for you right now, so if I could just have a minute of your time.
Alrighty.
This was Raw, and this is Austin standing on the bridge with The Rock's Intercontinental Belt.
There, but you ain't got no one on this bridge but Stone Cold Steve Austin with the Intercontinental Championship belt. Rock, when I gave this belt to you, I did just that. You didn't have to earn a damn thing. Well, tonight, son, if you want to find it, I got a few things.
You need to turn up a little bit, man. I don't think I can listen to hear this.
You're going to need a few
shit.
options.
You know what?
You're going to need your little
You
mask.
probably got good at the recorder, but...
You're going to need your little snorkel. Hell, son, you might even need a regulator.
Oh, so then they'll probably
have
hear
to go
it.
deep. So I got your ass a little oxygen tank, and I really doubt there's any oxygen in the damn thing. But nonetheless, there the damn thing is. And I tell you what, Rock, take your little flippers, because you probably can't swim worth a damn either. Here's a cell phone. When you find the damn thing, dial my number, And here's a pager. When you dial me, tell me you found your little belt. I'll page you back, put the 316, and give you the big thumbs up.
So basically, Stone Cold throws all of The Rock stuff. He throws in his cell phone, snorkel, oxygen tank, and over the bridge into the water, and now he's holding the Intercontinental belt.
I'll see your little belt later.
Oh my!
And he throws the Intercontinental belt in the water.
And that's the bottom line.
Yeah, this is definitely something I was alluding to before with Cody and Damian, and also not too long after that. Well, I guess it was. I'm pretty sure this is when they were feuding when Stone Cold had the belt, and The Rock ended up almost throwing. I guess he did throw him over the bridge and throwing his title in the bridge as well.
Yeah, this was during oh crap, I forgot the date for this thing. But yeah, all right. So Stone Cold, he's got this promo video going. It was a lot of people were just saying that, and then when I looked at the video, I was like, oh my god, that's right. And man, those promos were great back then. Maybe had stuff. It was just good. I mean, when you'll listen to it or whatever, you'll see what I mean. But all right, so
we have a bit of news to get into for this week.
That's right. We got a bit of news. Yeah, what are the headlines?
Do you have them in front of you?
Hang on one second. I just got to be a little bit prepared. All right. So we've had we've been hearing, obviously TNA getting released the house show debacle. And honestly, till this day, we still don't even know that much what happened. We could only assume that there was a contracting or licensing issue. But what we do know is that the state commissioning license place said that, hey, you guys can't wrestle here. So this left talents not being able to wrestle. So then what then? It was basically the 6 to 8 different superstars or talent fighting throughout that match. Some even fighting twice. Bully Ray fought twice. James Storm Gunner. And while details are scarce about this, what I'm so pissed off about, and this is going to go to my hate to the stupid dirt sheets, all right? Because they're reporting that, obviously the people are, at least most of them are accommodated for that they can meet and greet the wrestlers in the back. But the articles state that Jeff Hardy was physically charging $20 to have his picture with him and that he was refusing to sign autographs. So here's what I'm going to tell you guys, a little story. I'm going to clear the air about Jeff Hardy charging for photos, refusing autographs this year. Please, for 1 second, lay down your pitchforks, Jeff Hardy haters. TNA has always done in-ring photos after the show with a top face and usually prevents autographs so security can keep the line moving, TNA security. In fact, security will yell at you and say no autographs. It's also not the talent asking for money, it's TNA. You would have to pay your money to the TNA security guard, to the middleman. So the dirt sheets, which I wish people can avoid, state that VIP purchasers did not get their interactions with Hardy. Well, if you scroll through comments or Google forums of people claiming that they were from there, they would tell you that they were accommodated for, the VIP purchasers, and that they didn't have to pay TNA, they didn't have to pay Hardy for photos. In fact, one accountant had said that Hardy was actually pretty nice and cool. If anything, Bobby Roode seemed like the distant one. Hardy also had an ice pack in his back pocket, so who knows? Ass injury? I don't know, X-Pac style. Now take it for what it is. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe what I'm hearing is wrong. I mean, but from what I've seen and from the comments that I've actually read, even from other TNA events, you would have to pay $20 to security to get your photo with a certain superstar. Mm-hmm. So, and he wasn't allowed to sign autographs. In fact, security will yell at the person and say, no autographs. So, and even outside the ring, you actually have stories of people actually seeing these superstars of TNA and that they would actually be happy to sign autographs. Kurt Angle actually yelled at a security guard saying, no, I'm going to sign an autograph. But, like I said, I can't, I wasn't there, obviously, but, I'd like to put some intelligence, some realism into this, and some legitimacy. So, don't believe the dirt sheets. let's do a little research, and hopefully we can come up with viable answers for everything.
Basically, dirt sheets need to die. That's about it.
Yes, that's pretty much it, and that's my rant against dirt sheets. I mean, and I hope my story sounded legit, and I know it is. I mean, my estimations at least.
Yeah, I think we also had some other news that involved TNA that involved at one of their house shows, I think.
Yeah, the house show debacle. That's the that was the same night when everyone supposedly said that Jeff Hardy refused autographs, but the state kind of screwed out some of the wrestlers, saying that they need their licenses. But then it's like, what about Hollywood stuntmen? Do they need their stunt licenses if they're filming out in wherever it is that they went to? So Yeah,
it's really stupid. Even on behalf of the state, but I really have to wonder, how the hell did TNA not know about this well beforehand? Because you saw on their website as early as the day before the event, they were advertising for the show that, as far as everybody knew, this show was happening.
Yeah, you're right. That is true. I mean, who knows? I mean, the answers aren't there yet, but yeah, I mean, TNA would have to be at fault for this too.
Absolutely, because I mean, even though these whatever these laws are, they're obviously stupid, but I think this is something that TNA sort of got lazy with, and they were coming off so much great publicity with what happened, with Saban getting the title, and then they were on such a high. And then, the next night, it was last Friday, wasn't it?
Last week Saturday.
Yeah, okay. 2 days later, and this all happens, and I don't want to say it ruined all of it, but, there was definitely a lot of negative feedback as far as the fans were concerned.
Yeah, there was, and I kind of wish that, there is a lot of negative feedback, but then, of course, I kind of wish that these reports would just focus on the debacle and not so much as Jeff Hardy thing, because, obviously the TNA does that. They make you pay one way or another to the talent, so it's not actually the superstars that are doing. Hey, you know what? Even if I were there, I probably would kind of pay or whatever. I probably wouldn't mind. I mean, they're standing there after the show. They probably want to get out of there, but whatever. I mean, I could see if you went to a Comic-Con and you see a wrestler there and he's like, "No, $20," and it's like, "Get the hell out of there." Greg Valentine.
Yeah. All right. Was there any more news, or was that?
I mean, I guess that really was it. I mean, that really was the big news out of that week. Hopefully, I would like to see TNA recover from that. And after last Thursday, it seems the quality of the show hasn't diminished, obviously. Yeah. And hopefully that was just a one-time mistake. I mean, hey, a lot of wrestling promotions go through debacles, too. I mean, even WWE did in its earliest stages when it wasn't WWE and actually WWF, or even before then. There's always an issue. But, I think with TNA's side, though, it was definitely a major issue, so probably on a larger scale that left fans unsatisfied. But so far from the people that went there, I guess it was just one hectic rush, and it sounded unfortunate, but, as long as hopefully they got happy after meeting the wrestlers at the end. So.
Yeah, it's like you said, hopefully we can stay away from this in the future, and hopefully we don't see this again. I mean, that's the last thing TNA needs at all, is any sort of bad publicity.
Yep, that's right.
So, and before we actually have a few other segments that we're going to get to, but before we get to that, I wanted to mention something a little brief. I was in Walmart earlier today with my family, and I was looking through. Just randomly, looking through the WWE magazine. I wasn't expecting to see much, but there was really insightful, really in-depth article on William Regal, kind of taking you back through his history as a professional wrestler in the business, even having pictures as old as when he was 20.
Really?
all the way up until now, and different interviews spoke about him, like from Daniel Bryan and Tony Cesaro. Triple H was in there. It's really an insightful read, and you really get to know just a little bit more about William Regal. And I know we have a lot of fans, or actually members of our group, who are really into William Regal, and myself, who believe that, he's one of those guys that never really had that title run that he should have had. But be that as it may, normally you don't really expect these great articles like this from WWE Magazine. I mean, I don't know how many people actually, listen to this, read it, but I really highly recommend go checking this out. I mean, even if not, just go see, the cool pictures of him wrestling when he was 20. It's always good to look back on different wrestlers' histories, and he's definitely had, quite a history in wrestling. So that's my little brief mention for the week.
That's pretty badass. I guess I gotta check the article out. Is it online, or I guess if it's exclusive to the magazine, then
it may be online. I don't know for sure. I just know for sure it's in the latest issue of the magazine.
Right. Well, well, actually, Dan, hopefully it's a good time to get started on Know Your Wrestler.
All right.
Alrighty, so Know Your Wrestler is kind of a segment that I'm kind of interested in doing in. Basically, I'll focus on the past wrestlers. So, this wrestler is Fred Beal. This guy was born on January 17th, 1876. 1876.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, so basically, this was the guy, I guess, that's doing independent shows or whatever, or at least probably what you want to call it, maybe a bit of the underground boxing, as they would call it back then. But, they were doing professional wrestling even back in the day, too. Yeah. So, of course, at the, sort of like the upset of the century was pulled off when Marshfield, Wisconsin wonder Fred Beal, a classy grappler, beat Frank Gotch for the American Catch-Ass Catch Heavyweight Championship on December 1st, 1906 in New Orleans. But of course, it was remarkable because Beal had defeated perhaps the greatest wrestler of all time, and a man who outweighed him by 35 pounds. But in any case, with his stunning win over Gotch, reportedly earned 4,000... You know what, this is so bad because I'm just reading off this stupid thing. I probably should have abbreviated it. But, no, alright, look, this was back during the days when, wrestling was sort of seen as sort of like a pro boxing gimmick, but that you actually had little gamblers betting and stuff, doing little underground bets on the side, people with top hats hanging around, blah, blah, blah. But of course, his life was cut off short because, he eventually was a police officer and he was killed in the line of duty at 1933 when he was 57 years old.
Wow, that's a pretty interesting story.
Yeah, so, that was that with Know Your Wrestler, and, hopefully that was cool. Once I get this format going on, I'll be a little more prepared doing it instead of just reading off this thing.
It's cool, man. Like I said last week, this is our first time doing something like this, so we're gonna...
Yeah.
We're not gonna be perfect, Obviously, it's intelligent wrestling talk,
That's
but,
right.
no one really starts out intelligent. No one really starts out really great at anything.
You're right. That's true. Yeah, that is perfect. Thank you. You made me feel so good. You put me over. Thank you. But yeah, no, I have these archives of old wrestlers, and I feel like it would be kind of cool to sort of talk about it every week. At least we can get some of the history of wrestlers or key stars too. So
yeah, it's always cool to.
I mean, this is a guy that was born in the late 19th century. I mean, God knows what wrestling was like back then. Were they, did they all have bleached long hair? Did they all have theme music? This is obviously not.
It's definitely cool just to see some of the...
What were the Titantrons like back then?
I somehow don't think they had Titantrons and themes.
What?
Oh man. Anyway, this other segment was kind of sort of inspired by seeing a certain post in our group where it really got me thinking, because this post was when was the first time you saw WWE live, or and in this case I'll reword it, the first time you really saw any sort of wrestling show live. I'm like thinking, why not educate the fans a little bit on our history?
Yeah.
By, telling our stories about, our origins in the world of wrestling.
Well, they should know who they are, and if, God knows they're still watching this, then good. We're going to give them the vanity project.
Yeah, so I'm going to get into mine real quick. I don't really remember a whole lot from this. I think this was, it was just sometime before the whole Undertaker's American Badass gimmick.
Yeah.
I want to say late 90s. I could be wrong, but it was a house show. I remember Undertaker wrestling. I don't remember exactly who he was, who he wrestled, but I remember I was there with my dad, and we bought these Stone Cold T-shirts that had like these random sayings on it that had like nothing at all to do with Stone Cold, like some stuff that he's never ever said before in his life. I'm pretty sure he's weren't at all licensed by the WWF at the time. And yep. I remember it's funny leaving the show, and there was this really big fanatic for Kurt Angle, and we were walking back towards the car, and he was, and you remember how people used to chant along with his music, "You suck."
Oh, of course.
And this guy stood on top of his car, randomly started, he was dressed in the whole Kurt Angle attire, and randomly just standing there and saying, "I suck! I suck!" It was I could barely contain myself at that point. And that was probably one of the more random, funny wrestling stories that I'll ever tell on this show.
Yeah, man.
How about you? What was the first wrestling show?
Well, Dan, first of all, thank you for eating up all that time with your story. Now we have to.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. Well, I think I was about 9 or 10. It was actually a house show, not exactly a live TV event. Mm-hmm. And this was at Madison Square Garden, so this wasn't on TV or anything. But yeah, it was freaking phenomenal, because the first thing we did, my uncle took me. Mm-hmm. So, that was male bonding right there, hanging out with your uncle and everything, instead of hanging out with your mom, aunt or all that stuff. So, it's like, yeah, we're going to go watch wrestling live. So I was 9 years old, super excited. What I did was that I wore my Stone Cold shirt, and, I had the skull in the back with the blue smoke coming out of the eyes, and it says Austin 316 in the front, too. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, first thing we did was go to where the wrestlers were driving in. The Rock had his window half rolled down. He did the eyebrow thing to everyone who was looking by, and everyone was just cheering. Stone Cold Steve Austin goes by, where all the kids were hanging, and I was with all the kids that were there gathered up.
Yeah.
He rolls down the window, smiles at us while giving us the middle finger.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Freaking cool, man. They can't do that now, but I love the olden days. But the house show was unforgettable. Kane blew my mind, because I never, just the whole fire thing, it was so loud in person. It was so bright. It was like a flash going inside your eyes. In fact, even in Raw, when I went last week, the fireworks, the pyro, everything was so loud and so perfect. Even when the Usos came out, the whole pop is just for people screaming "Oh, that's surprising!" But yeah, that was my first live show, late 90s for sure. Don't know the exact year, but I also had my Undertaker shirt out of it, and it said "To Die For," and it looked evil and sick, and I'm so glad that I wore it to school.
Well, I'm sure all the teachers loved seeing a shirt like that.
Oh yeah, their eyes, you know, they furrow their brows and they look at me and say, "To die for?"
All right. Well, this is something that I'm gonna try to do every week to just to sort of educate the fans and everyone who watches just the experiences of us. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Man,
yeah. I don't know where we're going there. Anyway, now it's time to get to all the questions and comments. If you guys are unfamiliar with this, before our show every week in our Facebook group, I post a little thing to get everybody in the group involved. And obviously, if you're watching this and you're not in the group, what's wrong with you? Go join the group right now. Topics every day. Join in conversation. Lots of good talk. Anyway,
and it is called Intelligent Wrestling Talk.
Yep. It definitely is. Anyway, the first question comes from. I'm probably gonna totally butcher this name. Tema. I'm really bad with names. I just want to apologize in advance. Get with the question. What are the?
I believe it is Timu Enderle.
Well, maybe you should read these questions. I'm terrible with names. But his question was, what do you think are the three main things TNA can do to remain entertaining and save themselves financially and creatively? And also, he wants to know, who do you think the WWE's best wrestlers who are able to keep for the next 10 years or so?
You see, this guy cheated. He's using two questions, but all right. We'll let it slide. Well, what can TNA do? I mean, first they need to invest in the X Division again. I mean, that's what they need to do. I felt they were right in releasing a lot of their talent, including Jesse Sorensen. I'm sorry, I know he was granted a lifetime promise. I hope they should give him a compensation package, though. Yeah. And they should be able to fund all his medical issues. Anyway, but they should have smoothed it out better before going on the road. That's what they should have done. Second, let's bring back the six-sided ring. It was completely unconventional for most wrestling fans, so this can give back that different yet effective identity. And third, they have to focus on the younger guys, which they have done the past 2 weeks. So as long as it stays in the path that it's going, hopefully, we no problems.
Yeah, that'll definitely be nice to see, because we want to really see TNA succeed, because there have been a lot of times in the past where they dropped the ball here, dropped the ball there, especially when they tried to, a few years ago, going live on Monday night and going up against the WWE, obviously. Yeah. That was a big mistake, and everyone thought, oh, TNA's done. But, they're still going.
They're still going, and you know what? I mean, TNA. People have been saying for years that TNA will be bankrupt, and that just won't happen. Not to mention, I mean, even worst comes to worst, the Carter family have billions. They do Panda Energy anyway, and that's a very profitable company. Yeah. But anyway, so I kind of interrupted you. Where were you going? I'm sorry.
It's all right, but no, it's just I love watching wrestling. I mean, regardless of where the outlet's coming from, and TNA succeeding is really important. Not just for them, for the wrestler to have more places to go to for work, but also more for us, the wrestling fans, to enjoy more of it than just WWE every week.
That's right, and you know what? If TNA can keep up its own identity. I think that's what can give that's what separates itself from WWE too. It doesn't even need to be like anything or whatever, and I think that they kind of established that. But they should be their own kind of competition, because without TNA, let's face it, WWE wouldn't really have a competition, because even though TNA isn't really as big as WWE, it's still technically a competition because it's a wrestling show that's on a week slot. I mean, why do you think WWE is not airing anything on a Thursday night anymore? I mean, you
Yeah,
got TNA on
that's
Thursday night.
that's a
They
good
could
point.
easily have a show on Thursday night. But yeah, with TNA, and think of it this way: think of it as a WCW factor. I mean, why do you think WWF did so well with the Attitude Era? Was
Mhm.
because they were in competition with WCW. So if we have both wrestling companies compete against each other, we could see some pretty damn good products here.
Mm-hmm. And it's something that definitely elevated both of their games during that whole era. Made both shows just that much better, just because okay, they did this, well, we're gonna do this. They're trying to do going one step higher than what the other company's doing, and in the end, all the wrestling fans benefit.
That's right. That is right.
All right, his second question though was
Yeah.
with the who you think the WWE's best wrestlers are able to keep them on top for the next 10 years?
Well, definitely Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. Even though CM Punk wants to retire, so I'm going to exclude him. But I'm going to say Daniel Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely Damian Sandow and Cody Rhodes. Not just because of their feud as of recent, but they've shown themselves to be a nice, permanently established superstars, especially after today. They're going to be with the WWE for a while.
Yeah, and even guys like in the Shield, especially with Ambrose.
Oh, yep, that's true.
There's we always talk about how talented he is in the ring, on the mic, whatever he does, he's good at what he does, and he's somebody who has that sort of longevity. I mean, even guys like Seth Rollins who has that same kind of ability, and it's just everybody in the Shield. There's a lot of good things going on for the WWE right now. We mentioned it a bit with NXT, but a lot of these guys can definitely be stars for years to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. The next question was from A La Rock Hooligan, who thank you, by the way, because he was one of the ones who asked questions last week. Yeah, he asked, should Daniel Bryan become the face of the WWE?
Ooh, that's a good question. Who can take the face of WWE as John Cena gets older? That is the question. Riddle me this. I think Daniel Bryan can be the face of WWE. In fact, he probably should be. The face of any wrestling company should really reflect the everyman. I think John Cena did that pretty well with in terms of the kids.
Yeah.
But with Daniel Bryan, he's a little guy, and in a sense, we're all the little guy at some point or another. Maybe our interviewers displayed skepticism because we're not as smart or we're not as experienced, or maybe the girl at the movie theater wouldn't want to go out with you because you're a wrestling fan and not a big-time baseball fan. She's probably like, well, how am I going to go out with a wrestling fan if I like baseball? So, I mean, with Daniel Bryan is that WWE should take a chance considering he's the most over one, but in the end of the day, it really depends on merchandise. I would like to see him. I think he should be, but it just depends on what WWE does.
Yeah, and you made a very good point because he is like the everyday guy now. I mean, someone like me who can appreciate this. I'm obviously not the tallest guy.
No, Dan is short. Dan's a midget. He's a hobbit.
Thank you.
What are you, like 5'6"?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Well, you don't know. You don't want to know, do you?
No, but
take out your license. What does it say?
I don't think I want to disclose that. But yeah, I mean, with Daniel Bryan, he really represents the normal everyday hardworking guy. Almost like really with the American Dreams gimmick. With that type of appeal.
Yep, that's right. And I think that could, if they really wanted that new official face, then that ought to just be Daniel Bryan.
All right. Our next question comes from John Candinato. I think
John
I said that.
Cantando.
What's that?
John Cantando.
John Cantando.
John Cantando. John Cantando. There we go.
We apologize for that. He asks, where do you think they're going with the face versus face angle with Cena versus Daniel Bryan?
Hopefully, it's probably going to be like The Rock versus Cena, sort of. Both faces, but they're probably going to make Daniel Bryan seem like a crazy one, like he's delusional.
I don't know, because they seem to be phasing away from his whole, being crazy or being, the whole weak link gimmick or whatever. He really seems more really like that huge underdog or whatever. And I'm just gonna throw this out there. I sort of see him having like this sort of moment at SummerSlam. Well, maybe not at SummerSlam. Maybe in of a few months or so, where they'll finally put the belt on him and he'll get that kind of Rey Mysterio type moment where people are like, oh, no one could believe he could do it, but he actually did it, type of thing.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yep.
All right. Next. Where am I here? Page reload. Well,
Mr. Tima Enderle again has asked, and why does TNA push Manic so hard and when they have him jobbing a bunch leading up to the match tonight from previous Thursday? Just makes him wonder. Well, I think we've seen. I think he's kind of right. I mean, remember when what's his name, Manic Suicide got knocked out from that triple threat match for Sabin and Aries to compete for the belt. Mm-hmm. He was basically ignored, kind of excluded. And I think all this. What do you think about all this?
Well, I think it was more just about a much bigger plan, because obviously that match was really, not so much just to really feature the X Division, but more to put more of a spotlight on Sabin and more put him more over with the fans, and which eventually got him his title match against Bully Ray.
Yep, that's true. Yep.
I mean, because obviously they put the belt back on him, so.
Yeah, so it's not even like he's damaged goods or anything. And I don't even think anyone else would really even notice his losses even before then, because let's face it, it's the X Division, so it's it's so hectic to keep focus on who really wins and loses depending on the loss too. Plus, it's a triple threat anyway, so even if he jobs necessarily, it's not like he's the only loser anyway.
Yeah. And he also had another question about, he has a little bit of problem with TNA having so many roll-ups for pins.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess they could have probably gone for big finishes. It's nothing I personally notice or if it bothers me, but it does seem like a cop-out sometimes, though, if they're really going to go for the big roll-up pin via distraction. And not doing their special moves,
Yeah. I totally agree. I guess maybe sometimes they can't really figure out what better way to really end the match outside of a roll up.
Yeah.
And there's also another thing too. You can't. Big finishes are great and everything, but I'd rather have a roll-up pin in the match than a big finish done wrong. So,
yeah, that's true.
And maybe that had something to do with it. Who knows? Our next question comes from Neo AK. Ask, is the turning of John Cena really needed? Basically meaning him turning heel.
Yeah. I would love to see it. I would just love to see the looks on those kids' faces when John Cena actually turns bad guy. I don't think WWE will ever do it, though, because he is also their top merch seller, too, and especially if all the kids are buying. And it's not just even literally ordering from WWE Shop. You're talking about Walmart, Target, and all those other places that are selling Cena shirts.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's really a business decision that's on WWE, whether or not they should turn him heel. They won't do it. And but I think in terms of character, though, I think, hell yeah, I would love to see it happen, but I know it won't.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a nice change of scenery because we always see the same John Cena come out week after week, and, just with the same. I mean, I hate to hate on him because it's not really his fault because he's just doing his job, but it's not really entertaining at all to me.
No, and even like at the end, what I didn't like about the last after the Ryback fight was that John Cena needed to help Daniel Bryan come to his rescue, and I felt like it sort of diminished his power. Like I'd rather have Daniel Bryan take the damage and just be out cold or whatever than Cena coming in and just be like, yeah, Ryback,
like, oh, you face me next week, All right, but yeah, I mean, it would be nice, but I don't think we really needed all that much. I mean, the WWE has their heels right now; they're looking good. I mean, Cena's not going to hold on to the title forever. I mean, a lot of people seem to think that he will. I mean, given past experience, obviously, it's very possible, but I just don't see it. I mean,
yeah.
Anyway, the next guy, Anthony Sting, like that last name, by the way. I don't know if that's the real last name or not. Do you see a better future for the WWE Divas? Do you think it will start when Paige will come, or is it you already starting to become better?
Oh yeah, it's so much better now. Let me tell you, I can't wait to watch a Divas show that's on entertainment television. No, but this is a good question because do you think it will start when Paige will come in? You know what? Hell yeah, because I think it's starting with the NXT, but I mean right now the Divas division currently is completely grim. It's miserable to watch. In fact, even it's just unless AJ Lee's involved, because at least she's got a feud out of it or whatever.
Yeah.
But do we see a better future? I think so, especially if they focus on. You were talking about one of the Funkadactyls being like a really good diva, right? I forgot her name.
Naomi.
Yes, that one. She's really good. Paige is also really good too. Like I said, she's the next Ninth Wonder, I believe. I think she's going to be the next Chyna, but in terms of not being as manly though, and I hate saying that because I love Chyna. Pre-porn days. So, yeah, I think so. I'm a little optimistic about it. I think that's just, it seems like the kind of area that they were focusing on the least and probably doing last just so they can get the other stuff out of the way.
Yeah, and it's really, made it suffer because of just how little they build it. There's not really much emotional investment in that. I'll go back to the whole CM Punk thing. They're putting a lot of time into it, and they're putting a lot of time not only with the matches and the promos and just how emotionally invested that they're really getting you into it. And with this, I mean, we're lucky we see a Divas match at all during the week.
Yeah.
And it's,
maybe we should be so lucky.
And when it's a problem that when the divas who aren't even on the main roster yet, the divas who are in NXT, who are having better matches than the ones who are actually traveling on Raw and on SmackDown every week.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a lot of people are calling Paige, the future, and rightfully so. She's great in the ring, and like you said, she's a good person. She seems like a lot of fun. She seems cool. So, I mean, I think it's only a matter of time before she gets called up anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Our next question comes from our very own Shaun Spex. It's no secret that Raven tried many times to give creative ideas on how to use him. He knows the business better than most wrestlers. Why do you think they never used Raven properly? And his only real feud seemed to happen on Heat. We all know that if they gave him a job in creative, things could have been a lot better.
What about me? What about Raven?
Well, one thing about Raven, for those of you who don't know, when he was in WCW, he had his own little faction called Raven's Flock, who they did some damage there. But when the whole, invasion angle happened, he had this match at Invasion, all these WCW wrestlers, came in, and there were quite a few of them who got buried fairly quickly, and could Raven have been better used? Obviously, I think he could have, but I mean, Vince probably saw him as another WCW guy, and just it could kind of just seem like, okay, he's WCW, so let's bury him, because he just completely wanted to get rid of WCW as quick as possible while making as much money as he possibly could from it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think those are all good points, actually. In fact, it was great to see that throwback to WCW, because I was really only just going to mention probably a generational gap. I don't know. I mean, Raven doesn't really... I don't think the current kids even know who Raven is.
No.
And in fact, and you're right about Vince not really giving a big chance to WCW guys. I think it would be great to see Raven again, but I don't know. I mean...
Yeah, because when the whole invasion thing happened, a lot of people, including myself, said it didn't last as long as it could have. I mean, they could have done a lot more with it, but I think it got to a point where Vince was just like, okay, I'm sort of done with this whole thing. We'll keep some of these guys, and it's unfortunate because, like I said, it could have been better than it was.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on to our last two questions, and they both come from Ms. Michelle Turner. Which current roster guys or girls do you think will end up in creative 10 years from now?
You go first. I'm having a brain fart.
Well, it's a guy who I mention a lot. Obviously, CM Punk. He has such a great mind for the business, and his promos are always great. He can work backstage and help those guys, and come up with better storylines. Storylines that make sense. That feel right. And I even see a guy like maybe Daniel Bryan down the road, not necessarily with creative, but more like I'm pretty sure Dean Malenko, who is huge in WCW, who I think he still works with the developmental. I think Daniel Bryan could be in that sort of role 10 years from now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. That's all that's coming to my head at the moment.
I'm gonna go with Paul Heyman, CM Punk, Triple H. Obviously Triple H. I mean, if he really was that responsible for the Shield and everything, I think that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
For him to be in the creative side, and also and Zeb Coulter, actually, Dutch Mantel. I think it'd be great to have, because he's also been a good manager, not just for Cesaro and Swagger now, but even when he worked with Undertaker, for example. I mean, this is the guy that also helped provide some innovations towards some of the superstars. So, I mean, this would be great. That'd be like an all-star creative wrestling team right there. But I think, but I would also like to still see, hopefully maybe in a creative situation where more of the wrestlers also have more control over their own promos and stuff like that. So in terms of, how like wrestlers get their names, like Jonathan Good, John Moxley in the independent scene, that was his name. But then, of course, he's Dean Ambrose now, and while it is a cool name, is it really his name, So I'd still like to see more superstars have a little more free reign too.
Yeah, that would definitely be nice to see. And her second question and the last question for the night, she was curious if it's too late to repackage Santino as a more deadlier competitor, and that he has the skills to be the next or the new Steve Blackman.
Ooh. Well, first of all, I love Steve Blackman. And he was one of my favorites, especially since Steve Blackman's specialties were also in hardcore matches with the kendo sticks.
Absolutely.
So, you know what? I'm going to have to say yes, but that's if they bring back the whole hardcore division aspect of it. But for now, I don't think so. I don't think they can repackage him at all. Could they make him into a serious wrestler? I don't know. I highly doubt it, considering that, look where Zack Ryder is. I mean, he's trying to be taken more seriously right now with the whole hair length and all that, but I don't think he's going to get I don't think he's even less noticed now.
Yeah, he's definitely nowhere on TV as where he was, say, a year ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be nice to see, but, it's always hard to get new gimmicks over, especially with a gimmick that he had for so long. It's hard for people to forget it. I mean, we even hear people, like we talked about last week, with some of the stupid fans who wouldn't let Bray Wyatt get his new character get over, because he was named something else once upon a time, and he wasn't even up for that long. Santino had that gimmick for how many years? I mean, they can do it. I just don't know how much success and how much the fans will forget about the goofy gimmick that he had for so long.
Yeah, and it's just what you said too. If fans were chanting Husky Harris to Bray Wyatt, they're never going to let this go.
No, definitely not. It's unfortunate because I do love seeing comedy and involved into wrestling. That's sort of why I sort of grown towards guys like a Colt Cabana, who he does so many funny things in the ring. That's partially why I enjoyed Santino for the way he was, but I also realized that it's kind of going nowhere. So I don't know. It's really hard to tell, I think.
Yeah. Well.
And that's
they killed us with these questions. Some of them were really good.
Yeah, they definitely brought it last week. Not like they didn't bring it the last week, but we had a few more this week, and once again, thank you guys for doing this. The more questions, the better. We really want to get you guys more involved. I once again apologize. I suck at reading names and pronouncing names. I think next week I'm gonna have you announce all the questions because I can't do names.
Well, that's okay, Dane. I'm a big fan of the whole "We the People" Zeb Coulter thing, but at least I can read even the Spanish names or something.
Well, I would hope so. You're Spanish, aren't you?
I know that. Yeah. I don't look it, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely there. But anyway, once again, thank you guys for participating. Thank you guys for watching. You guys haven't subscribed yet, please do. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, just look us up, Intelligent Wrestling Talk. I'll even throw a little description below, and that's pretty much it. Do you have anything to add, Anthony?
I do have something to add. In fact, I think this was a great episode, because you and I put in the intensity, the integrity, and the intelligence of all things Intelligent Wrestling Talk. And you know what? I'm happy about doing this. This is something we're going to do every week. This is only the beginning. My mic sucks, but I'm going to get a new one by this week because I just got paid today. We're going to keep talking wrestling, and we're going to keep talking about it intelligently. Stay tuned for next week, you imbecile, you intelligent wrestling fan, you. Because one day, when someone asks you, how do you know about all this wrestling stuff, all the cool stuff, all the trivia that we're going to do, you could just say that you got it from some guy from some talk show. Not even know the name.
Well, anyway, yeah, but please tune in next week, and I would do the ending that we tried to do last week, but we didn't exactly rehearse it, so yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.
Well,